thank you so much for joining Spilling the Teeth, a special Canadian episode, my first episode remotely. I couldn't fly over to Canada, unfortunately, this time, but, needs must. But Scott, for those who don't know you, can you give us a quick intro to yourself, your role, what you're doing at the moment, and what Multisite really means for Canada?
Most certainly. Thanks, Alan, first off, for having me here today. Pleasure to sit down with you and have a conversation. So for me, my name's Scott Kennedy. I'm the director of Multisite Schools and Institutions for Henry Schein Canada. That means that we take care of about 300 different DSO customers, dental service organizations in Canada, as well as support the schools where obviously dentists, hygienists, assistants are coming out of, administrators as well too. We have some new programs in that regards that are happening in some Canadian institutions. And then work closely with the government as well too on some of their publicly funded programs and services that they provide. So a team of 10 individuals that help support this space today, growing rapidly as these segments continue to expand in the Canadian marketplace.
Amazing. Thank you. And multi-site's one of those things in Canada, it's like been forever changing. What is one of those, what are some of the ways that it has changed in the last 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I do joke, Alan, that by the time I get off a meeting, or whether it be a half hour or hour or a meeting as such, that something in the DS world has changed, and it's usually true. So somebody's bought somebody, somebody's sold to somebody, somebody's built a new DSO, private equity money has come in, all these things that go on. The last 5 to 10 years, the Canadian market has been, I would say, immature compared to other places around the globe in this regards. 10 years ago, realistically, there was probably a handful to maybe a dozen DSOs that were identified. And meaning there were still others out there, but just they hadn't really consolidated, if you will, their accounts or their purchasing or things along those lines to be really recognized as a DSO. So it's expanded tremendously. And we've gone from, as I mentioned, just a handful to just over 300 today in the space. And primarily, they're on the smaller side. 3 to 5 locations is about 70% of the makeup of the market today. But we're seeing those 3 and 5 start to grow into that 6 to 10 and 11 plus as well too, to become emerging.
Amazing. So do you feel that in Canada, groups is kind of the way things are going in dental, and that feels like the new vibe for the market in a way?
Yeah, if you look at the market itself, it's about 20% consolidated to DSO today. So there still is a large private practice segment. Following other trends from other countries, I'd say 5 years from now, we're probably in the 35% range. So it will continue to grow. There's obviously a desire for dentists to be entrepreneurial and to develop a business that is larger than just that one practice today is some of the mentality that I'm experiencing, and provides a lot more access for patients to see the dentist and to have consistency as well too in who they visit. So
Yeah, for sure. And the sharing of those care records as well. Like we see that in the UK and in Australia. People wanting to be able to move around and stick with
yes.
the same level of care that they're seeing everywhere else. Absolutely. But I mean, with this and so much growth and so much expansion over such a short period of time, relatively, you're always going to see a lot of pain points coming in. You're always going to see some things going right, but also some things going wrong and things that are tough for this world. What are some of those biggest pain points that you're hearing about at the moment? The things that are making it tough for new DSOs out there?
Yeah, the big one right now, Alan, in Canada is staffing and personnel. Retaining employees is challenging. We see, obviously DSO being over multiple locations, having somewhere between, 30 to 50, 60, 70 employees. Building that culture helps in that aspect. People want to join and be part of something that's bigger, which is nice. But definitely staffing is a challenge in Canada. There's probably close to 15,000 open positions today across the country. And that's including private practice, obviously, but DSOs with the 20% would be part of that. The other one is the consolidation of technology. So as the expansion in the DSO space has occurred in the Canadian market, it's primarily been through acquisition. There is some new builds, or as we've referred to them, de novos happening, where you get to really control from the onset of that business what that looks like. but because it's been acquisition primarily, many different systems across multiple locations, which obviously can be challenging for a number of reasons. And we're starting to see a little bit of that consolidation, but it's got a ways to go.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of brings me nicely on to like my next topic, and it was around that fragmentation in the market. So where we're seeing some, slow but steady consolidation into these groups in Canada, the thing that, like you just said, that we're not seeing is a consolidation of their systems. Um, from our last count, Canada has like more than 25 practice management systems alone, and that's just one piece of tech. Um, how do you think we ended up there? Aside from acquisitions, like how do you think that this market ended up quite so fragmented?
Great question. And yes, we have a lot. It's probably even closer to 30 actually, but
Oh wow.
there's a few different reasons. Definitely, small software companies seen an opportunity creating something that was relevant and, in certain regional aspects, gaining market share and continuing to expand from there. We also have different fee guides per province and different prices and things like that. So we had provincial bodies step in and develop their own software that are still used in certain markets today. And then in Canada, we have two national languages, French and English. So there had to be that French component as well too created, which then added to the total that you see out in the marketplace today. So it's really those three reasons that have really had this be so fragmented. There is, I guess, a lot of opportunity for a good software company to come in and really make things make an impact, if you will, to help streamline a lot of those different systems. And like we talked about before with staffing, like how do I move an employee from location A to location B if the systems are all different? It just
Yeah.
doesn't work. They'd have to really truly understand both systems to ensure that that customer is getting the best experience they can when they come to visit the dentist. And we know that people don't love the dentist, is how we'll say it, right? Because they associate it with different things such as pain.
Um,
Provided that optimum experience for them to make them comfortable and wanting to be there to get the best oral care possible is important. Obviously, systems are a huge part of that. So that's how we
yeah.
got there. It was a lot of different factors involved to get us to where we
Yeah.
are today.
For sure, for sure. I think like, what the thing you touched on there again is the staffing thing. If a staff member needs to move across site to site, they might be going on, one, two, three, four different systems, and that causes a huge pain point, and that disconnect for the staff, but also potentially disconnect for the patient, which we'll go on to. But operationally, right, that must be a massive worry. If you're the chief operating officer of a reasonably sized DSO, and you've got five different PMSs.
Hmm.
That must be a struggle to manage your data, to see how you're performing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a resource perspective, having different trainings have to happen to bring people up to speed. If you have a new employee coming in, which location are they going to be at primarily so that they understand that system that they're going to use. And then, access to data, like you said, how do you take these 4 or 5 or 6 different systems and put that data together to get the reports and analytics that you want about your business? It's quite challenging for sure.
Yeah, and do you sort of see a kind of Frankenstein duct tape approach? Everything's held together by one Power BI module. Is that kind of the way we're seeing it? Or?
Yeah, some different DSOs have created the dashboard as such, Alan,
Mhm.
to work with that. And again, that can be challenging too to make sure that a product like Power BI has the ability to talk to whatever system's there and can pull the right data and it's accurate. So they've been creative, but again, that's another resource, another cost, another implication of the business to have to know how to make all that work to make sure again you're getting the right analytics and the right information to support your business and work your plan really, right, for growth.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Another piece of training, another thing that slows you down, that kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. And all of that, like I was alluding to, is leading to a potentially a rougher patient experience, right? A patient walks into one dentist, and that they move across county, or they're visiting family, and they go, oh, I'm going to go to my same dentist over here, and they have a completely different experience, and it all
Yes.
stems from that tech.
Yeah, absolutely. The that piece of the consolidation, as I mentioned earlier, when that can happen, it just it builds a culture too, right, within the team. So the team can have opportunities to move around. The patient gets the same experience from A location to B location, and it's very concentric, if you will.
Mm, yeah, for sure. And I kind of guess that leads onto the scaling. What from what you're saying in Canada, that a lot of the DSOs, the groups are smaller. They're 3, 5, maybe up to 10. That's very different to a marketplace like the UK or Australia, where the DSOs are much larger. They've got places like Bupa who have hundreds of sites. What we talk about the scaling. What role are things that like consolidating tech doing to help that scale and help the pace of that scale? So looking at tech like AI, looking at tech like cloud, is that helping to reduce the complexity in Canada, and you're starting to see some speed build?
Yeah, it certainly is on the. I mean, anytime you can implement something that helps with, again, the staff shortage, if you will, and the resource drain, to make things easier and more progressive on a minute by minute basis. There's certainly the ability to scale at a better rate. Also to have a significant impact on your revenues, so that you can, whatever your desire is, whether you want to be to 50 locations in this period of time, have the ability to do those things and execute on those plans business wise, by the proper investment and utilizing that revenue to I guess match up with what you want to do. Um, so the I guess on the other side of things too is that employee basis, right? Being able to provide an employee experience where they can, oversee, potentially, say, as a regional manager. We're starting to see a lot more development in that area where, 10 years ago, again, there wasn't regional managers in Canada. So there's new job opportunities for people that are coming into the industry, which is great. But being able to have the same conversation at different locations, as opposed to multiple conversations and lots of noise, if you will, around not having that consolidation piece.
Yeah, for sure. I think when I look at it, and obviously I'm biased, it's where my experience lies. I'm looking at cloud, for instance, and when you've got multiple on-premise PMS solutions, you're thinking, okay, well, how do I get all of those in one place at one time? I need to move to a
Mm.
cloud product, right?
Yeah.
So, but what, from your perspective, what should people be considering when they're looking at something like cloud, or when they're looking at new technology to sort of help them with these pain points? What should be the main consideration points that they should be thinking from a group perspective?
Yeah. I think it's different for each group and what they want to achieve and what their needs are and how they view things. Um, Obviously, the ability for remote access is super important today, because why should you have to be at the office to see data and analytics? I mean, we have a device with us all the time, so we're able to see everything in an instant, which is great. And again, really figuring what their needs are, whether it's reporting or help with patient onboarding, patient experience, patient booking, all those different pieces of the puzzle, whatever is important to that DSO at that moment in time with wherever they're at in their journey, figuring out and analyzing what is the right fit for them. And going to provide them with the check boxes checked that they need to drive their business forward.
So really doing their
Their homework.
due diligence, yeah, doing the homework, yeah,
Yeah.
making sure that they know what they want before they it's too late. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And do you think that in a way, like an investment now is it an investment to future proof the group? Is now the time to get yourself ready for that?
Yeah, the Canadian dental market for the most part has been very stable, right? And we've had some new advancements in Canada recently with new programs for people who need care. So there's been an opportunity for growth there as well too, which is great that we're looking out for those who need the care. But certainly from a business perspective, that streamlining consolidation of PMS as a starting point, because that's the entry point for the patient into the practice, and then their journey through the practice over the lifetime of that clinic is there in that piece. So super important to have that flow through properly, and can definitely support business initiatives and strategic plans for the DSO, by looking at the analytics, understanding what the patient journey is, all those different pieces of the puzzle, if you can incorporate that into your PMS system, definitely provide benefit and help with the future state of wherever that DSO wants to get to. Again, whether it's growth mode or revenue generation growth solely, location growth, whatever it is, can certainly play a big part in where they want to go. And AI today, right, too, Alan, is becoming a big part of what's happening in the dental space, not only from the clinical side, but the other parts of the business as well, too, with patient retention and all these other communication pieces that need to happen on a regular basis. I think I get about 4 notifications at least before I go to my appointment, if you will, for my hygiene appointment. And it's all auto generated, right? So just to help with the resource and allow the practice and the employees or the team within the practice to support who's right in front of them, which is that patient live, right? As opposed to tying up time doing the other little connectivity pieces that can happen through automation.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things that we see quite a lot. I mean, recruitment in dental is a pain point across the whole world. You know, not just the regions that we sit in as Henry Schein employees, but you know, regions beyond that. Dental is really struggling for staff. And I think that what we can do as service providers is provide that technology that can save time. So you
Hmm.
know, whether that be voice notes so that you don't have to do as much admin, or there's systems out there that do phone technology where,
Yes.
like exactly like you said, you don't have to have a receptionist. You can have an automated receptionist to help you do the role. You know, whether that's diagnostic AI, so you don't need to get that second pair of eyes, that's built into your system. All those little bits and pieces that might save you a bit of time.
And what's interesting too, Alan, in that regards, is working with the schools who are,
Hmm.
training our next generation of staff and team in these offices, and them reaching out to us asking, what's forthcoming, what should we be considering, what in our curriculum should we put into place.
Hmm.
And again, that's fantastic because they're going to provide that student with the right opportunity to learn what they really need to learn to be very relevant day one in the marketplace, right? Working for a practice. So we have a lot of interaction with schools just to educate them on technology and what's forthcoming and what to expect. And it's very interesting to stand in front of a class of young students, that are getting ready to jump into the workforce, and just to see their energy and the questions they ask and how they're thinking about things very differently today than what I would say even 15 years ago when I started visiting, dental schools. Um, it's a different thought process for those students today than it was back then. So technology's
Yeah.
played a huge part in what we're seeing.
Yeah, amazing. And it's amazing that they're so engaged and wanting to be a part of that, because this really is the future. Not only are they the future, the tech is the future as well. And if they don't
Mhm.
work together, then we don't have the future that we're looking forward to. So absolutely. I suppose in terms of DSOs, is that something that or these multi-sites, do you see them getting involved with that as well, getting into the schools, asking for what they would like to see? Is there that kind of connection there as well?
There is. We do have a couple larger DSOs in the Canadian space, with almost 600 locations and 500 locations, and they're definitely involved at the school level. They actually have representatives that work with the schools, because obviously there's lots of placement opportunities for a new graduate, whether you're a dentist or an assistant or a hygienist coming out. So definitely, and more we see that occurring with the regional DSOs. Obviously, in their pockets, if they have access to a dental school, they're doing the same things. Um, and then, like I said, our involvement is quite a bit of connectivity with the school, just to keep them on the foreground and providing again what they need to for their students to come out to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really fantastic, because we speak about investing in now, ready for the future, and in tech wise, and actually, if you can, build the tech stack that you want and build the practice of the future that you want, you can make the workforce you want by helping out those schools and helping out
Yeah,
that education sector at the same time. So it's
yeah.
great to see that that's already
And
kind of in
I'd
place.
I'd add to that too. I mean, the marketplace is smart today too, right? employees know what they're looking for and what they feel they need to have on their day to day to be part of something not only bigger and join a culture, but also have the technology advancements that support what they do to make their days easier and more enjoyable across the board too. So it's an interesting time, that's for sure.
Yeah, time to make your group attractive by investing in the right way, and that's not only tech, that's equipment as well, and
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
different types of technology, physical or software.
Yeah. It's speaking with dentists, there's a lot of interest in revolutionary technology that's changed the way things have been done in the past. And to me, I guess one thing that comes to mind would be 3D printing, for instance. As the
Hmm.
materials for 3D printing are evolving and becoming much more sophisticated, obviously the procedures that were traditionally done by hand or different ways are now being printed. And for a DSO, that's a great differentiator. To if they have the ability to invest in the technology, it's not super expensive and the ROI is quite high. But being able to have that in house and draw talent as well too, and retain talent to support the overall business, but then again, the patient experience at the end, right? When you can go in and within your hygiene appointment have a night guard so that you don't brux that night when you go to bed. It's changing really quickly, and there's a lot of good new things for all of us who go to the dentist and have teeth to take advantage of, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I suppose speaking about the revolutionary side of things, in all aspects, we looked at the past and how we got here, and we talked about what's revolutionary coming up. But what's next? So, what's the next 5 to 10 years? We know that we're going to grow to around 30, 35%, hopefully. But what's next for the multi-site market in Canada?
So we're at an interesting juncture. We're past that early adopter phase, if you will, right? Where we have 300 ish, if DSOs that are out there today. There's been a lot of private practices purchase, as I mentioned, acquisition was the key driver for the most part, and now some of our DSOs are doing new builds de novos to grow their location count and in the right pockets and looking at demographics to do the right things. I think the next couple years, probably the next 24 months, actually, there'll be some consolidation in the DSO space, meaning some of those smaller DSOs are going to get bought by maybe a little bit bigger ones. There'll be some DSOs that figure out a strategy of private equity and come together to be a bit larger DSO than what they were before. So two fives coming together to become a 10, for instance. I think there's going to be a significant amount of that consolidation. And then there'll always be the private practice acquisition with the right practices that fit into the different DSOs, whether they're 3 locations or they're, much bigger. That's still going to occur. But like I mentioned earlier, I think we'll be in the 30 percentile, by let's call it 2030. And that's not that far away. As I look at my watch this morning, and August is almost over, but and summer's fleeting. But yeah, I think there's going to be some significant changes there. And then that's consolidation within the segment already, but there still will be those additional add-ons of private practice being part of a DSO as we go forward.
Yeah, no, so not only consolidation in the tech stacks, consolidation in the actual physical presence of that group. Yeah,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And then the conversations we do have are becoming more about that streamlining consolidation. And it's, everything from chair packages to panoramics to x-rays to printers to looking at not just buying one and putting it in one place but buying 5 and plugging it across the board. And I'm starting to see that the DSOs find that as a nice way to build culture, because with all the options we have available to us today, and it's not like we all sit around and watch the same program on TV and they get to talk about it at the water cooler tomorrow, right? Those days are pretty much gone because of the options you have available to you at the click of a button. But it provides a commonality that definitely certain DSOs are cluing into that and using that to their advantage again for talent retention and growth and just having that camaraderie and culture build up. What a great way to do that, right? With some new technology that allows them to talk on the same level and language that maybe they didn't in the past.
yeah, 100%, definitely 100%. Are there any trends going on at the moment in sort of Canadian multi-site that you're that you're excited about or concerned about? Things that are you think are gonna grow over the next few years?
Yeah, from an overall growth perspective with the DSOs, I'm starting to see that, and the team is as well, that, you know, adding a clinic to the DSO that's maybe 3-4 hours away isn't as attractive as it once was, just to have those numbers. Being a little bit more regional, again, because of our smaller size of our DSOs at the moment, plays into it nicely. And then the ones that, as we've talked about, that kind of do that consolidation can move employees around. So if something happens at one location, they can move somebody from A to B to make things happen. The other one is the DSOs trying to figure out AI as well too today, right? Not only, again, not only at the clinical side of things, but also outside of that. We're still fairly early stages of the AI adoption in Canada, but it's definitely a conversation that happens on the regular. Um, and then looking for new revenue generation opportunities, whether it's training your entire team on orthodontics or implants or whatever it may be that could potentially, see that patient in one place as opposed to having to send them out to a specialist or do something different that way. And so those are some of the trends. And then I guess one other one would be, speaking along the talk track of specialist, is some DSOs adding a specialist that travels around from location to location. And maybe at location A, they have a full day of implants booked. And then the next day they're at a different location. They got a full day of implants booked there. But being able to support that customer and provide a great customer experience, the same location where that patient is comfortable going, they know the people there, all those things play into it as well. So those are the few of the trends that we're seeing. Um, and again, I think that the growth aspect of it is going to continue to, grow quite significantly year over year, low double digits, I would say, um, as again, whether it's through acquisition or via new location build, where someone falls into from 1 to 2 offices to 3 to 4 offices as they build them away and find the right places.
Yeah, interesting. It's very interesting around the traveling specialist as well, because it speaks to the talk track that we've just been having around, consolidating your tech stack.
Exactly.
If you need that if you're going to be sending someone to different locations, otherwise the training and the education element for that one person is going to be huge, and that's just one person on your team. So, absolutely. Okay, so we talked about the issues, we talked about the trends. If you could have a magic wand that did whatever you wanted for Multisite in Canada, and you could fix one issue, or you could make one change, or you could upgrade one thing, what would that thing be?
Um, I was hoping you're going to say I could use that magic wand for the lotto numbers, but
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Maybe the next magic wand.
The next one. Um, I guess the one thing overall, and again, Canadian space is still evolving, right? It's still pretty early, if you will, when we look at other countries globally as to where we're at versus the UK and the US. Um, it's a little bit of a stigma in regards to DSOs and groups and whatnot, whatever you want to call them, being relevant in the marketplace. And some people look at it as it's not a good thing for dentistry. Well, when you look at a lot of these DSOs, they're doing a lot of neat things with incorporating technology to give a better patient experience, to try to figure out the pathway to what that looks like for the patient. It's all about the patient at the end of the day, and it's gotten a lot better. Don't get me wrong, but it's taken some time, and I can see that with change, it's evolving more rapidly every day, and DSOs are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be here throughout the journey of dentistry and in my lifetime and my time at work, and only going to continue to grow. So just the understanding, and the one thing I look at, Alan, is I mentioned it a few moments ago, but it's a different environment today for say a hygienist or an assistant coming out of school. They have the opportunity, if they want, to do a business function role, right? Not only be on
Mm,
the stool, patient caring, they can, if they want to, desire and they want to know business, grow into a regional manager role or a procurement role, if you will, with an organization. There's lots of new job opportunities other than just I went to school to be this and this is what I'm going to be for my whole entire career. to me, that's super exciting. And it's just, again, the evolution of the business itself, and the change that, DSOs and impact that they've had on the Canadian business itself. It's
Yeah, for
exciting.
sure. It's definitely exciting. I think some of the most successful businesses I've seen, you know, has that person that started from somewhere slightly different. I've seen bankers running DSOs. I've seen hygienists running DSOs. I've seen various different aspects, whether they're from dental or they're from a different area of dental that you wouldn't normally see scale up, and bring in that sort of like new, vibrant, different ideas. Like
Exactly.
that's super exciting to see that that's a trend in Canada as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely happening. And, yeah, like I said, probably one of those things that will have happened by the time you and I wrap up. Something along
Yeah,
those lines.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, So unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand for you, but I do. I do have a platform that you can give some advice. So let's speak to those smaller groups, those people that they're 3 to 5. They're really looking to scale, but they don't know where to start. What's one piece of advice that you would give to them to help them on that journey today?
Construct a plan, have a plan, and think it through, spend the time on it. When you look at these smaller DSOs, their owners are very busy individuals, right? They're dealing with 40, 50 staff members. They're trying to go from location to location to be present and be part of the teams there to build that culture and take it to the next level. But build a plan, surround yourself with really good people, and stick to the plan. And of course, there's adjustments along the way. It's like any business, you got to adjust, and otherwise, you're going to be left behind. But the opportunity to do great things by focusing on that plan is there. And again, with the stability in the marketplace, making those right decisions that connect to the plan, certainly can help whatever whatever the end goal is, wherever they want to end up. So that would be my advice: stick to the plan, evaluate the plan, make sure it's working. If it's not working, course correct, and figure out what you need to do to get to that next level of whatever it is you want to achieve.
Amazing, amazing. I think I'll add to that as well. And it's something that anyone can have in any walk of life. Don't be afraid to ask the question that's burning in your mind. There's big businesses like Henry Schein. There's small businesses that have done it before. There's so many people out there that you can ask. So get your plan, work out how you're going to do it, get your people, and ask the questions that are stuck in your mind.
And actually, Alan, that's a an interesting comment, because we've seen, again, because we're early on, I think is what the reason is the information share among DSOs has been relatively low level in the Canadian space, but we're starting to see some camaraderie, if you will, amongst the DSOs. And I do spend some time in the US on a regular basis and attend different meetings and things along those lines. And you see the DSOs, in the same room together, talking with each other, sharing, and it's all for, I guess, if I could use the word betterment, for the betterment of the business and the patient itself, who is that customer, right? That's affording their money to make sure that the DSOs are successful. So another trend we're starting to see as well too, some information share, which is great, so that everybody can be successful.
Yeah, amazing. And it's a great trend. And it's my favorite trend. That's, part of the reason we started this podcast, but also part of the reason that, we like to have these conversations, have different events and things where we talk to people, get people talking, get people sharing, because, what are we doing if we're not providing great patient care? And the only way we can do that is talking. Yeah, fantastic. It's really good to see. Well, unfortunately, we're towards the end of our time. But if you've been a fan of the podcast before, you'll know that I ask all of my guests to give 30 seconds to the camera of either a plea to the industry, something that they want people to know about, one thing they wish that the industry knew about their specialty, whatever it may be. So over to you. What's one thing you'd love to share with the listeners today?
Um, I guess what I would share, Alan, is we do as an organization a lot of different things, and sometimes it's good just to sit down and have a conversation and ask questions, as you mentioned earlier. Knowledge is power, And we do some different things. We sit down with DSOs and we do what we refer to as a Henry Schein Showcase Day. It's almost like The Price is Right, where you come down for the showcase and you see all these different things, and but you get knowledge out of it. You get to understand what's going on in the marketplace. And we do this with people who are customers, people who aren't customers of ours, but it's helping them understand what is available out there, and what is offered to help support this segment of the business. And it applies to private practice as well too. We do this, not just starting to do this more so with private practice as well too. But I would say reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. Again, as you mentioned, no questions. Not asking questions doesn't provide you knowledge or power to do what you want to do and figure things out. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer any questions and illustrate how we support this side of the business.
Amazing. Thank you. And if you do want to reach out to Scott, you can, of course, comment underneath of this video, or, on our podcasting platforms. You can reach out to our podcast email, and we can for sure send those on to Scott and get your questions answered.
That'd be great.
Amazing. So I always finish with a question to the audience, just so I can get a little bit of interaction, so people can start talking to me two-way, and it's not just me talking it then down their ears. But I think my question would be, and ask for questions. What's one question that you wish that you could know about multi-sites, whether that be in Canada, whether it be across the globe? That's my question to the audience. So what's one thing that you wish you could find the answer to about multi-sites in Canada or globally? So Scott, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really cool to see how everything's growing. It's been pretty rapid in the past, but it looks like it's going to be even faster now. Really appreciate your time. And hopefully looking forward to catching up with you in the future, and we'll see just how far everything's come.
Sounds good, Alan. Thank you so much for having me today, and appreciate the conversation. It was great.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Guys, I'll see you on the next episode and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.